My topic is on birthing in the United States and South Sudan.
What do you got to eat?
Some topics I'm going to address are demographics of health issues affecting women, demographics of countries, cultural similarities and differences among women in these countries, and ethical considerations and actions. An introduction, birthing is an important and transformative event in a woman's life, affecting her physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. Birthing is a complex and multifaceted event that has the potential to shape a woman's life in many ways. It is an essential women receive the care and support they need during this critical time to promote healthy outcomes for both themselves and their newborns. Some birthing history for the U.S. There was a colonial period where there was a bunch of midwives where that became popular. The rise of obstetrics, the use of anesthesia became popular. The natural childbirth movement, dramatic increase in C-sections in recent years, and there was a return to midwifery and alternative options for childbirth. Some history for South Sudan. I wrote it pretty broadly. Some traditional birthing practices, whether that be culturally or religiously. Some influence on colonialism from the West. Lots of Western medicine was introduced to Sudan, and lack of access to maternal health care due to a lot of conflict and war within the country.
And the penguin?
Progression in births in the U.S. There's definitely a lot of increase in hospital births. It's probably the most popular type of birth in the U.S. Advancements in medical technology making birth much safer. Return to interest in natural birth and birthing centers, and an emphasis on informed decision making, which aligns with the values and preferences of the mother.
If I had naturally straight hair, would you think I'm do you think I'm pretty?
Progression in births in South Sudan. There has been less progression in South Sudan compared to the U.S., but there is an increased awareness of maternal health, aimed at improving access to maternal health care for all women in this country. And they've been trying to establish maternal and neonatal health clinics around the country more, training of healthcare providers, and provisions of essential medicines and equipment.
Did you hear me?
Morbidity and mortality rates. For the United States in 2020, the mortality rate in the U.S. was 24 deaths per 100,000 live births, more than 3 times the rate in most other high-income countries. The U.S. mortality rate is actually high for the type of country it is, a high-income country. And for South Sudan, maternal mortality ratio stands at 789 per 100,000 live births, whereas neonatal and under 5 mortality rates are 93.3, 99.2 per 1,000 births, respectively.
I'm sorry, so I'm ugly right now?
Physical, emotional, and social effects for women. Physical effects include how their bodies will react after getting a C-section or even natural birth. There's a lot of physical effects that people isn't talked about very often. There's emotional effects such as postpartum depression. Some social implications include the way society sees them as a mother instead of just a woman, and even the relationships they have with their partners.
I'll just put air in my tires.
Relevant demographics for the U.S. In 2021, percent of women aged 18 and over in fair or poor health was 13.9%, and for South Sudan, 51.5% of women aged 20 to 24 who were married are in a union before age 18.
I want to get my bridge pierced.
Your what?
My bridge.
Some political demographics: 25 of 100 seats in the U.S. Senate are taken up by women, which is 25%. In South Sudan, as of February 2021, 28.5% of seats in parliament were held by women.
Why?
I think it suits me.
Some religious demographics: in the United States, women are 75% Christian, 2% Jewish, 1% Buddhist, and another 19% basically atheist. In South Sudan, the population is 60.5% Christian, 32.9% follow traditional African religion, 6.2% are Muslim, and 0.4% are considered other or atheist.
But Smiley's like bad for you.
Some socio-cultural factors in the United States: ethnic and racial diversity,
Not bad for you.
family
You're not
structure,
supposed to
religion,
keep it in
education,
for as long as
economy,
people keep it
media,
in
and popular
for.
culture.
Or, like,
In
if you
South
get
Sudan,
the
there's some
metal one, it's gonna
similarities,
scratch up your teeth and
but
ruin the
some not similarities are
whatever the fuck
tribalism,
tooth-
family structure, and then there's also religion, education, economy, and conflict. Impact of cultural
Do I just
beliefs.
withdraw
In
the
the United
class?
States, there's gender roles, beauty
What?
standards,
I feel
reproductive
like I
rights,
failed.
sexual
You feel like
harassment
you
and
failed
assault,
because you didn't.
a work-life
You did it,
balance.
though.
She's
In
very
South
strict
Sudan,
on
there's gender roles,
timing.
early marriage,
How many
and
points are you gonna get
fertility,
taken off?
domestic
I don't know if
violence,
she's gonna take it.
education,
She's
and
not gonna
political
take it?
participation.
I feel like I read that somewhere.
Go back into the syllabus.
Women
and check.
representation
Wait,
in
I'm trying
government
to
in these
see this
countries.
first.
In the U.S., there's a lot more representation for women. Politically, it's definitely increased over the years, and policy making is something we're working on with women's voices being represented more, and also bringing light to women's issues such as reproductive rights. In South Sudan, there's a lack of representation for women politically and even in policy making. It's hard for them to make policies with women's issues such as gender-based violence. Local and global organizations for South Sudan, I just named a couple. South Sudan Women Empowerment, United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, and the International Rescue Committee. In the United States, is another couple: National Organization for Women, American Association for University Women, and Planned Parenthood. A little summary: in the United States, women face numerous issues related to childbirth, including high C-section rates, lack of access to midwifery care, racial disparities in maternal health, inadequate insurance coverage, and obstetric violence. In South Sudan, women face numerous challenges related to childbirth, including lack of access to health care, high mortality rate, lack of emergency obstetric care, cultural beliefs, and conflict within the country. Women in both countries deserve better for the future and for their children. And here is some references.